And I'm going to talk now to Mark Reckless of UKIP, who joins us from our studio in College Green. Mr. Reckless, thanks so much for coming in and talk to us. The Chancellor, as I say, trying to really make this a choice between Conservatives and Labour and the occupancy of number 10 Downing Street. And your answer to that is what?
Well, I think you'll hear over the next month or so a lot of effort to accentuate difference between Conservative and Labour and pretend that they're offering very different solutions. But the sad truth is that both of those parties are very close together, and it is UKIP that's the party of change, basically because we want to govern ourselves. We think we can make better decisions as a country than 27 other countries can do for us. We don't want to give all our money overseas, £1 billion a month on overseas aid, between 10 and 20 billion going to the EU every year. Lots of money going to Scotland, more than spent in England. We want to get that money back and spend it on domestic priorities, not least an extra £3 billion for the NHS, and also making sure we hit that 2% of GDP NATO target for defence. So that's our agenda, an agenda of change and very different from the other parties.
What do you make, Mr. Reckless, of the claims that there are some pretty prominent business leaders who think that the mere possibility of a referendum on Britain's membership of the EU is in itself a destabilising thing and in itself a damaging thing for the British economy? What's your response to that?
Well, I think ever since the Prime Minister, for the first time, I think back in January 2013, said he was looking to have a referendum. Actually, that was the moment when the economy started recovering, and we've seen more investment coming into the UK than almost anywhere else. I actually think business will be a lot better off if we're outside the EU, if we can trade freely with the whole world, and particularly the big growing emerging economies as well as the United States, rather than tying ourselves to the one declining continent of Europe. We have a global vision and think this country can be so much better off making our own decisions, governing ourselves, but opening up to the wider world rather than just to little Europe.
Chancellor was very clear, wasn't he, earlier, when he said that really what he favoured was pretty extensive reform from within. He didn't give any signal at all that he thought the British economy would be better off outside the EU. For you, how important an element of this campaign over the next 5 weeks is the debate on our membership of the European Union?
Yes, I mean, I think our independence as a country is very important. It's why my party, UKIP, was founded. But we want to get power back from Brussels to Britain. But we also want to get power out of Westminster and Whitehall here and down to our local communities, because there's been a cosy cartel of establishment parties at Westminster for far too long. And it's that which UKIP is looking to shake up by returning power back to the people who elect us, allowing them to spend their own money and make their own decisions. And ultimately, if they don't agree with what the politicians or others decide for them, they can throw them out. And that's not possible when decisions are made by the EU or by judges or by quangos. And we need to be a democracy again with the people in charge.
Mr. Reckless, we'll talk to you again in the days and weeks ahead, but thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you.